Let's learn about installing software in Ubuntu Server. You will need root privileges to install software, and then you will issue the apt-get command or apt-get, followed by the install parameter, and then the name of the program that you would like to install. Hitting enter, you can see the output here. The program has been installed. Now, you need to understand not only how to install programs, but a little bit about dependencies, because this is something that's different if you're only familiar with Windows or Macintosh systems. They don't talk very much about dependencies, and in Linux you'll hear that term a lot. Dependencies are other files, perhaps libraries or header files, or even other programs that a Linux program is going to require in order to run. So just like the name suggests, dependencies are other things that are needed in order for a program to run. In other words, the program is dependent upon something else in order to run. Now, using apt-get or apt-get, dependencies will be handled for you. You can see at the top of the output, reading package list, done, and then building dependency tree. So dependencies will be handled automatically for you. Now, the command that I've shown you here works if you know the name of the package or program that you want to install. But what happens if you don't know the name of the program or package that you're looking for? Or what if you're looking for something generic like an FTP program and you just don't know the name whatsoever? Well, thankfully, we have the apt-cache command, and then followed by the search parameter, we can search the apt-cache in order to find programs. In this case, I will search for an FTP program. So sudo apt-cache search for FTP will return a very long list, in this case, of results of FTP programs or programs that are somehow related to the file transfer protocol. You can see toward the bottom YAFC, yet another FTP client. There are several other programs here, but this is one way that you could search for a program. Scrolling up, looking through the output of apt-cache search, you could find an FTP program that way. Of course, you can always go online somewhere and search for an FTP program, and then you can issue sudo apt-get install to install it that way. Now, keeping everything up to date is important. And so the sudo apt-get update command is going to update your indexes for all the repositories that you are pulling programs from, or all the repositories that are set up on your system. And a repository is, as it sounds, it's simply a location where you can find many different programs. And so Ubuntu Server uses these repositories in searching for programs, updates to programs, the latest version of different programs, which are wrapped together into a package. In many cases, because Ubuntu is based on Debian, they will be packaged as a .deb file. And so you're searching through these packages, which are just programs that have been wrapped up and are ready for install. You can think of them like a setup executable on Windows. So a setup exe file. These packages will enable you to install these programs. So you're searching for the package to install the program that you're looking for. You don't need to know a whole lot about repositories, but just understand that repositories are places where indexes of programs are given to Ubuntu Server so that you can search and find programs you're looking for, and so that you can keep your programs up to date. Now, the sudo apt-get update command only updates indexes. It will not upgrade programs to the latest version on your system. So don't get confused by that. Oftentimes, people who are new to Linux think of sudo apt-get update as updating their programs in the same way that Windows Update keeps your Windows operating system and some of the Office programs and whatnot up to date. That is not the case. Sudo apt-get update is to update the indexes from all of the different repositories that your Ubuntu server is configured to utilize. If we want to automatically update all of our programs that are currently installed, we actually issue sudo apt-get upgrade. This is going to look at everything that we have installed and see if there are any newer versions of any programs, and then automatically update those programs to the latest and greatest version. You can see from this output here that there's nothing to update or to upgrade on our system. Now, as far as repositories go, the repositories that you are using can be customized. And so we'll need root privileges to edit that file, and we will use nano in order to edit this file. It's in etc apt, and then the file is sources.list. This is going to be a list of all the repositories that your system is configured to utilize. Now, if we scroll down to the bottom, you will see a few repositories that have been commented out. Actually, I've already uncommented partner. That was originally commented out. But here, this last one here, extras, it is commented out. If you're not familiar with that phrase, it simply means that either through a pound sign, or sometimes you can use forward slashes, we have taken this information and made it so that whatever program is utilizing the file, it won't read that line. Instead, that line is only for people who are reading the source or reading the file as we are doing now. So the data here that you see in a purplish blue, that is all commented out. It's a comment. It's there for us to read. But when we issue sudo apt-get update, where it pulls the latest indexes from the repositories, it won't be pulling from these two lines here, the extras.ubuntu.com repository. It won't be pulling from those. However, if we delete, and this is why I opened this with sudo and with nano and not simply reading it with cat, if we remove the space and the pound sign, you can see that first of all, the color changes here, telling us that it's no longer a comment. These two lines have now become active repositories. So that means whatever software is contained in the extras repository, our server will now have access to those programs. So we'll write out the changes and close nano, and now we have to issue sudo apt-get update to update our indexes. And now that we've uncommented the extras repository, we will get an update from extras, so that now when we go to apt cache and we search for programs, we'll be finding programs that are potentially listed in the extras repository as well. Okay, so you can see that ran. We did get a little error there about extras.ubuntu.com, that the following signatures couldn't be verified. You can basically ignore that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go back in, and I don't need the extras repository, so I'm going to go back in and comment that repository out anyway. But that hopefully helps you to understand a little bit about how repositories function. Now, we will not be covering in this course installing and compiling software from source code. However, that is commonly done on Linux systems, but I would consider that a little more advanced than the scope of this course. So we won't be covering that. And there is one final thing that I wanted to mention to you related to keeping your system up to date. The command to search for release upgrades to keep the operating system itself up to date is sudo do release upgrade. Sudo do release upgrade, checking for a new Ubuntu release. Of course, we won't find anything because we just installed the latest and greatest version here. But that is how you will keep your system up to date. And also know that if you have installed an LTS version of Ubuntu server, that's long-term support, that means that your operating system is going to be supported. Usually, I think it's for about 5 to 7 years. You can find the date. I believe our version here is going to be supported until 2019, I believe, which is 4 more years. And so picking an LTS upgrade is always a great choice, especially for a server, because you don't have to upgrade to the next greatest release using sudo do release upgrade, but you can continue to receive support. You can continue to receive security updates, software updates, and the repositories will all be active for a very long time. So that's how you install programs on Ubuntu server. You've learned the basics here. There is a little bit more to it, but I think for the scope of our course here, you basically have the tools to search for software, to install software. Oh, do note that you can use apt-get to remove programs as well. That's pretty straightforward. Sudo apt-get remove, and then the program which you would like to remove. And then verify there. This is the program I installed earlier, and now you have uninstalled the program. So installing, uninstalling, very easy with apt, and there really isn't much more to it than that.